Hi, I'm Mercedes Stevenson, and this is the West Block: politics, perspectives, and players. Joining me now is Ambassador John Bolton. Ambassador, thank you so much for making time for us this morning and for joining us on the show again.
Well, thanks for having me. Glad to be with you.
Sir, last week we heard President Trump finally concede defeat publicly, but he also said the journey is only just beginning. A lot of people are wondering where this goes next. What do you think the president meant by that? The journey is just beginning. Is he still encouraging people to engage in this kind of sedition?
Well, it's not clear what he meant, although I think he said in other contexts he is forecasting a run for the Republican nomination in 2024. I personally don't think he will actually do that because he doesn't want to risk losing again, and he does know that he has lost. He simply won't admit it. But it's also a device to keep himself involved in politics and to get the attention that he wants, which is what he really craves. He has no philosophy. He doesn't have policies. He has only Donald Trump, and that's what is the center of his world. I think more broadly, there's a lot of damage that he's caused to the country that has to be repaired and to the Republican Party. And I think there are already significant conversations going on about how to eliminate the Trump influence that's caused so much damage.
Two of the ways that are being discussed to eliminate it right away would be either invoking the 25th Amendment or impeachment. Do you believe that President Trump should be removed from office using either of those methods to just end it now?
Well, there are three ways to do it. One is, as the Wall Street Journal has said this morning, that Trump should resign. So just to be clear, I favor Trump resigning as well. That is the least likely outcome. He will never resign, but just to make sure everybody understands it. The next two, 25th Amendment and impeachment, to take them one at a time. Section 4 of Article 25 of the 25th Amendment, which is what we're talking about here, has never been used before. It has never been used before. It is intended to cover a situation where a president has a heart attack or a stroke, is flat on his back, unconscious at Walter Reed Hospital, and something has to be done to get an active acting president. It's complementary to Section 3 of the 25th Amendment, which has been used, where a president, for example, going under a general anesthetic for an operation, hands over power to the vice president for a limited period of time, and when he comes out of the anesthetic, he takes it back. But Section 4 has never been used because it's very dangerous and, in this case, unworkable. It provides, and people need to understand this before they throw it around too glibly, that the vice president and a majority of the cabinet need to say that they think the president is unable to fulfill the powers and duties of his office. Not that he's not fit, unable. And if you just pause for a moment, you'll acknowledge, I think, that the complaint about Donald Trump here is not that he's unable to fulfill the duties and powers of his office, but that he's all too able to do it. So leaving that small constitutional point aside, once the vice president rounds up a majority of the cabinet and says the president is not able to carry out his duties, the president can write back and say, yes, I am. And if the dispute continues, it goes to Congress, which has 21 days to decide who the acting president is. There are 12 days left in the Trump administration. And one has to ask oneself, if you're trying to make the situation better, is it better to risk having two presidents for 12 days? Does that really make the situation better? So I say the 25th Amendment, Section 4, is not intended to cover the situation. It is not a license to a coup. So I think this is a very delicate question, and I don't think you can carry the argument that we'll be better off with the possibility of two presidents, because Trump will simply not acquiesce in it. And there's one further operational point. As Trump learns that the vice president is out there rounding up cabinet signatures, which I expect he will, it would be if Vice President Pence could keep this secret, it would be the only thing in the Trump administration that is not leaked. So he's out there rounding up cabinet signatures, and Donald Trump is firing the people who are signing and putting in an acting secretary who won't sign the next letter. So I just think this is a fool's errand. I understand why people are interested in it, but I think it's dangerous. I think having two presidents is very dangerous, and I don't think it'll work.
What about impeachment?
Well, I think they're welcome to try, but I think it's the same cost-benefit question has to be asked. Is it going to make the situation better to try and impeach Trump? Or is it better just to grit our teeth, get him out of office in 12 days, and leave it to prosecutors around the country to deal with him once he's out of office?
Do you think that there's a risk of a civil war in America? Was this a one-off horrifying incident, or is this a very serious and very real ongoing national security risk?
Now, there's no civil war in America in prospect. We've had a civil war. We know what a civil war looks like. I wasn't there, but I'll tell you, this is not the Civil War. What happened on Wednesday was a horrific act. It was a terrible day for America. But it was also a reflection of a massive breach of security by the law enforcement agencies charged with protecting Capitol Hill. And it was also the result of an incumbent president of the United States inciting a mob to riot. In 12 days, Donald Trump will not be an incumbent president anymore. And I can tell you that sitting around the pool at Mar-a-Lago is not going to be the same as sitting in the Oval Office.
But do you think that his followers, the people who he has fed these lies to about the election being stolen, will they stop when he's out of office, when he's not feeding that fire every day?
Well, I think there's serious work to be done to correct the lies and misimpressions about the election being stolen and other things that Trump has put out there in the past 3 or 4 months. But I think it's a mistake to treat public opinion like a block of granite, unmovable, unchangeable, unalterable. There's nothing like a Democratic president in the White House to get people to stop paying attention to Donald Trump and to focus on what the new president is doing. I think people, if I may say so respectfully, in the news media should not succumb to what I call presentism, that they look at what's happening today and say it'll be like that tomorrow. That's true for 12 more days. At noon on the 20th of January, the world changes in immeasurable ways. And one of the ways that it will change is Donald Trump's influence will drop dramatically.
There are American Republican lawmakers, congresspeople, and senators who amplified Donald Trump's message, who encouraged people to engage in the kind of behavior that we saw last week. How do you think they should be held accountable?
Well, I think, I believe in the people holding people accountable. I think elections are the way you do this. I think criminalizing politics is not a great idea. I think that's what third world countries do. And I think there's a growing sentiment that those who enabled Trump, who emboldened him, who supported him in his various efforts to convince people that the election was stolen, I think they're going to pay a severe political price. I don't think there was any silver lining in what happened on Wednesday, but I tell you, people are fleeing from Donald Trump, as they say in the South, like scalded dogs. They don't want anything to do with him, and with very good reason. I think this trend will continue and accelerate.
So do you think there's no chance he's going to go and try to run for governor in, say, Georgia, for example, which some people have speculated might be his next step?
He's not a bright man, but he's not that stupid.
You worked for Donald Trump, all these other Republicans who were still supporting him right up until the 11th hour with what happened in Congress. When you look back on your time there, do you regret it? Do you wish you'd never gotten involved with the Trump administration?
No, I don't regret it. And I may say I've paid some significant prices for for being in it, but I did it for the country. I spent 17 months trying to persuade Trump to follow what I thought were the right courses of national security policy, and I wouldn't change it. I would hope I could have done more to get the right policies implemented, but I didn't do it out of personal loyalty to Donald Trump. I did it to continue my service to the United States. I don't regret it at all.
Ambassador John Bolton, thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thanks for having me.